Okay, so we got a important Mymer here. Um, this week's parsha we speak about the destruction of Amalek. As we just mentioned before in the last Mymer, Amalek is the spiritual force which counteracts the convictions that we have to God, and it's very serious. Remember what Amalek did to you in the way. It says, it's a war from God to Amalek from generation to generation. The name is not complete, and his seat, his throne is not complete until we eradicate the descendants of Amalek. In a certain sense, in our own generation, we know from ancient sources that Germany was or is descendants of Amalek, which is why, without going into all the deep psychology and mysticism, they had such a pathological hatred towards the Jews. And in our time, Germany has transformed, which is quite amazing. And in fact, Reb Hillel Parch says that the spirit of Amalek, that genocidal spirit, to God forbid wipe out the Jews, as we say in the Haggadah, every generation they get up to wipe us out, or someone gets up and God saves us. So that spirit obviously went to the Arab tribe, and but it seems that with their own Arab winter, because ultimately the thing that causes one person to want to, God forbid, annihilate another, is that reality is in your own mind. And when you become the most valuable player, the example that I like to give, imagine that you are the star of a show, so you worked your whole life, you became an actor or an actress, and they gave you the main part in a show. So, okay, really cool. But then they say, no, somebody else is going to get the main part. So you may have kind of this kind of pathological hatred towards that person because that was meant to be my glory and you've taken my glory. We see this with children. A child will sort of um, often become jealous of a lower sibling because I had it all and now you came along, it was all mine and now you took it. Certainly we all have this sensation. I mean, if I said to you, I'm not giving you $1,000, you wouldn't get upset. But if I say to you, or God forbid I take $1,000 from you, you would, because that's mine, right? um, and it gets quite subtle. So, for example, if I'm going to the bank and the bank says, okay, we're giving all our customers $1,000, and then they don't give me 1,000, I would get upset. Why? Because I'm no less than anybody else. So the funny thing about ego is that the moment we think we're entitled to something, the moment we think it's mine, so the moment somebody else takes it from us, that's why ego is that sense of value. So somebody who becomes a little bit delusional. You saw this very interesting story. Very wealthy Jewish lady who I think she had like a shipping empire, and for a while she was imprisoned by one of the kings who was jealous of her wealth. And this guy's a king. He's got untold fortunes, but he was jealous of her wealth because in his mind it all belongs to him. Everything belongs to me. And so, you know, um, thieves will argue over the spoils even before it's been stolen, because in their mind the way you acquire is through theft. And so if they can already imagine that they got it, it's already in their head theirs. So the notion that you actually own nothing, you don't own even your own body, even the money that you have is only God can do anything to you at any time. We see, God forbid, people make a lot of money and maybe they have to spend it on, a nursing home or something like that. So whatever you have, you still need God's blessing. That's why we say, Yivarech Hashem v'yishmerecha, God should bless you and protect you, because, at every moment you're in the need of divine protection. Now, Amalek is arrogance, and arrogance doesn't like the fact that it needs anybody or anything. So it's like a child that thinks he's the greatest. That's why, in fact, children throw tantrums, because they're so used to getting their way, and they can't handle not getting their way. And so eventually, when they realize that they're not entitled, that they're just this little squirt, so then they become a sweet child. But that's the key in life, is to to obviously have ego when it comes for what's right, to do the right thing, but when it comes to everything else, to not have ego, because ego in the right place is the greatest blessing, but ego in the wrong place is the greatest curse. So this war is contained in every single generation, every single Jewish soul. For every single generation, every single day, a person has to see himself as if he left Egypt. Therefore, we mention going out of Egypt every single day, in the morning and the afternoon. Because the idea of going out of Egypt is in every single Jew, every single day. And after he goes out of Egypt, so in other words, when does Amalek actually attack you? When does he attack? When do the force of evil try to take you down? It's actually when you leave Egypt. That's when Amalek traditionally attacked the Jewish people. In other words, when you get inspired for God, that's when Amalek comes along. He says, "Nah, don't be inspired. It's nothing." So a person has to not only get inspired, like we said, you have to get blessed both to be inspired, but also to keep the inspiration, because anybody who gets inspired, as you know, you'll be attacked by those that are, have Amalek within them. They're jealous of your inspiration. So Amalek is a very powerful force that keeps many people from realizing their God-given talents and dreams. The Jewish people that or the source of all Jewish souls is called the heart of God. Just like the heart is the container of the life force of man, because the general life force comes into the heart, and from the heart it goes into the entire body. And through the heart, the spirit of life goes through the entire body, because we know that the life force goes in and out. That's the secret of how the universe functions. It has an in-out mechanism, like the heart pumps, and every pump pushes the blood out, and it returns in and receives oxygen. So the source of the Jewish people is called Knesset Yisrael. So it's obvious that a God that made all these details, let's say breath, a heart, didn't have to make it in that way. You don't see that a tree has a heart, and yet it's a living thing. So the reason God made things in the way is to give us an example that the energy, the life force of man is constantly upgrading, right? So you take a breath, you have new oxygen, and it sort of renews you all the time. What you're really doing is you're drawing down the energy from God above. The essence of your soul is God. That's why the Jew by nature spiritual, he seeks God. He is the essence of the soul, and its essence that its foundation is on the highest sphere. It's literally a part of God. And this inner essence, this entire desire, is libotov the whole is to go into the light of God. From that desire come the power of the soul, which is the seichel, the intellect. Well, how do I get there? The emotions. Then comes into the expression of the soul, which is thought, speech, and action. Which isn't the essence; it's just an expression. Also, the intellect and emotions, which are the essence of the soul, they go into the physical emotions and intellect of the body. Big subject. So even though every single Jew has this core love for God, because that is our source, but it's not revealed equally. אף על כל איזה גילוי שיהיה נאמר לבבא באחס מעין כלומר אפילו באחס מאיזה בחינס המסגלס בכל נפש כי מוכרח הוא להיות איזה גילוי האור בכל נפש וגילוי זה ומשאר שנפש יחי בחס הלב לכן נאמר לבבא. So the source of all your love is coming from what's called lev, the heart. So this heart above is the heart below towards divinity. So what was the whole idea of the exile of Egypt? Was that our essential core heart was begolus, was in exile. It was in what's called katnus. It was in a minor way. It was just in a way of amunah. It was in a way of faith. Right? In other words, there's a difference between knowing something and kind of believing something. So I can believe that you're a good guy. It's very different to knowing that you're a good guy. So the nature of a Jew is to believe in God. Because we dive in here by Strach was das Tia Hava Gili Nikudazu, BSSH to Slav, Slahev, Nikud Liboy, Ashes Galp Stabs, whole Kirks and African. So the goal is not only to have this faith and this belief, but to have a knowledge, to have an internalized passion. It's like the difference between somebody who, I had a friend, he's a doctor, and he was a radiologist going back many years, and people would unfortunately come and take the pictures of the lungs, and he'd say, unfortunately, got 6 months to live based on the, damage. So the person says, doctor, I'm going to stop smoking. So the question is, before he didn't know? Answer is, before he didn't want to know. He knew about it, but it wasn't something he really wanted to hear. Now he wants to know. So knowledge, the idea that something that you really wanted, and this is part of you, is a much deeper than, I know I should diet, or I know I should exercise, or I really have this passion because, God forbid, I had this terrible thing and I really feel the need now. It's one of the most important things that a Jew has to do. It's not enough to know that there's a God. You have to meditate, you have to contemplate, you have to have knowledge in God. You have to understand that God is the being, the source of all things, and He never changed. The whole universe is like you say a sentence, even if you wrote a sentence down. Okay, so you expressed it outside of yourself, but that doesn't change you. The you remains forever. That's the relative of what God is to the whole universe, but infinitely more so. Because above and below there's nothing really but God. Because the whole thing is like nothing. If you think about what is one sentence compared to your entire life, all your thoughts, all your speech, all your feelings, and then your subconscious, all nothing. So the whole universe is like a sentence. In the beginning God made heaven and earth. The whole thing, everything that ever would exist from heaven and earth, the substance was all created in that single sentence. So it's all has no inherent, it's not inherently valuable. It's a choice that God made that He loves it, but it doesn't have no correlation to Him whatsoever. And the best example is, imagine like a speck of dust to you. It means nothing. It's only an outward manifestation of His energy that gives the life force, but He Himself, the whole thing, is nothing relative to Him. If you understand this, then you'd have a tremendous humility to God. And in fact, in heaven they understand this, why all the angels have a tremendous love and yearning for God. The more you think about this, and great breadth and depth, and you can imagine it. So you'll understand that you should have no desire but built to Hashem only to Hashem. Because, like it says, who do I have in heaven? I have nothing besides you on earth. Only to you, God, does my soul cleave to become one with you. Through this, you'll love God with all your heart. What does it mean? That your heart should be filled with the level of the revelation of God. In other words, if you truly loved God, there would be nothing, if a person truly loves someone, there's nothing that stops them from helping the person they love. So often, you'd like to help people, but you don't really want to help them enough to overcome, let's say, your laziness or your cheapness or something like that. But if you truly love God, you love Him in a way that there would be nothing that would stop you. You push aside all of your addictions and your desires and your fears. Love. You push your heart to God from the depths of your soul. So the Jew above, this is the level of Havaya, and the Jewish people, this enjoys the life force of this level. So when we say b'chol nafshecha, we say b'chol levavcha, all of our heart. That means your heart is filled with this love for God, and that is your key. B'chol nafshecha is your whole soul. Which, what does that mean? That it should inspire the expression of the soul, which is your thoughts, speech, and actions. How do you practically do this? That your thought becomes God's thoughts, the higher realm of thought descends into you, the higher realm of speech becomes your speech. So you could say, who am I to have the thoughts of God? So, and it says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, but that's only when you're thinking. But if your passion for God is so deep that that's your sole desire, so you open up a channel in which the divine thoughts and the divine speech can come into you, like Moses, whose entire being was a conduit for divinity. Whenever he spoke, was the words of God coming through him. The main revelation of this, the essence of your heart and Shema. Sorry, is in Shema. When you say the Shema, as a divine moment in time when this kind of ability to create this love and connection is there. And the highest level of love is you take pleasure in God. When you take pleasure in God, then everything pleasure is like a magnet. It's the automatic kind of magnet of the soul, what people truly desire. So therefore, you automatically draw within you the kind of wisdom and the speech of God. Vashi is the very, very pleasurable pleasure. Because God is one in your heart. There's nothing but God. And there's no other life. You have no other pleasures in this world but God. Only God, He is your source. Speaking about another level of love, you realize He's the source of your life, so you only want Him in any of it. He's the source of all pleasures. All pleasures come from Him. So obviously, whatever He's going to say to you is a source of pleasure for you. Therefore, your love for God should be like a person who loves his soul, his own life. This is an internal, intrinsic thing. Like it says that everybody wants to exist. So it's even an animal, even a bug, even a bacteria, even a plant. So that need for existence is a very, very powerful, essential core desire. And when you realize your existence is the existence of God, so therefore it is His will that matters to you now. Believe it so the love of God will be implanted in the heart. For this, you will take pleasure in God, the source of pleasures. You'll take great joy in your service of God, because you love God so much. If somebody loves a man or a woman very much, they'll serve them their whole life because just being close to them is all they desire. Like it says, taste and see that God is good. This is what it says to an expansive land, the land of milk and honey. The Hainu Shiyah, the Vash, Bechenes Achalti, eating the Vash, Bekim, Kishma, Gileavaya Echad, Hafta, Ava, Betainugma, the Eres Tevra Chava, he had a Chavas Adas. Achesi Gia, Odin, Bechenes Gili, Bechenes Zu. How can a person actually come to the revelation of this level? So if you were already in Galus Mitzrayim, you were in Egypt, that your emotional desire for God is what's called katnos. It's squashed, it's small, it's in a very kind of infantile state. And your animal soul, which is because of course we're a combination of different souls. We have an intellectual soul, an animal soul, and a godly soul. So everything we're speaking about, this great love or this latent love, is the godly soul. But you also have an animal soul. An animal soul seeks what looks good, what tastes good, what feels good. So this is the first part that you're born into. So you have a divine side, but you also have an animal side, and the animal side becomes the dominant side in a human being because it has more time until your mind, which has a godly soul, begins to develop. So if this is your whole passion, so how are you going to transform your heart to go from the love of the kind of foolish pleasures that this world can offer to this sublime spiritual bliss? That it should be like this is your whole life. This is why it says that God took them through the desert. So he didn't take them immediately to Israel. They had to spend 40 years in the desert. Why? Because in the level of the desert is that you're following God. What does this mean? And holiness is what's called the face and the behind, the front and the back. Like it says, it says by Moses, he saw God's back. It says, I don't remember the exact context, but I think a prophet saw a Megillah, which is like I don't know how you say a Megillah, like a scroll, and it was written both sides, the inside and the outside were written. So also the godly soul has an inside and outside. The inside is their innermost heart. This is a place that you have literally God Himself in a revealed way. This is His life force. And this is the pleasure that the person has. And the joy of God is His entire being. What is the outer part of this heart? The outer part is that you don't feel this love, but you force yourself to do what this love would demand of you. ואף מכן לא מפני זה תהיה אהבה זו לבד ממלא כל תוכיס הלב שלי לי יש שום חפץ ורצון אחר כלל, אלא שהאהבה זו היא המשלת בלב על ידי המוח השלט הלב שלט דווקא והוא סקאפי סטרח ולב וכן סהפה. Right, so you have this ability to control yourself, right? So even though you may not be so interested, you have the ability to say, okay, well, this is what I plan on doing, and this is what I'm going to do. There are many, many levels of categories of how much control, how much you desire, and all these different categories of this. As we can all see in our own lives, that there are things that we think we should be doing, but we may do somewhat and may do some more. So there's all these different categories of how much you're able to control yourself to these from conflicting desires. The Nevertheless, he has not completely gotten rid of the garments of noiga in completion. To be completely despise evil. Actually, it's only through the intelligence. In other words, meaning the animal soul in the person is so strong. It's not that he despises evil, but it's just intellectually he knows what he should do, and he's forcing himself. In other words, as Alter Rebbe teaches us in Tanya, we have a great war between the animal soul and the godly soul. The animal soul just desires animal things. The godly soul just desires godly things. So often the animal is quite strong. So what you have to do is you have to sometimes contain it. You can't, let's say you have a dog that's running. So you can't always, order it around. It's got its own agenda, but you can't hold it on its leash. You can't force yourself. שאין לי אלא לב אחד והנה יאמר הזל שאמרנו השפטנו ליעקב כשם שאין בליבך אלא אחד כך אין בליבנו אלא חולו Yaakov who Yisrael Shuv B'Chris Madrigas El Yenu Shein Lev Echad. This is what Jacob wanted from his sons, that he asked them, and they said Shema Yisrael, that Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that they should only have one heart and one pleasure, the pleasure of divinity. V'kach Hashvatim Shem Klos and Hashem Tzadzik Haladois, also the Shvatim, which is the general souls until all the end of time. Now the so as you accustom yourself to breaking yourself, like the horse that has to be trained, or the dog that has to be trained, eventually it's happy to follow the master, it's happy to do the right thing. Therefore Shema is saying, it's called Kabbalah, so accepting the yoke, accepting the responsibility, the obligation of heaven. Once you accept the responsibility, then eventually you come to enjoying it as well. Yenira davar yesh nifred be'am im v'zchul k'dei she'yeh shmoi nikra melech aleim ki be'emes kula kamei kalei chashav v'srus le'ela zu tzarech liyes v'srus l'tatakam k'v'chedes m'sum v'stachas v'hein hein v'chedes kura so odin l'skav v'neged chomin eya v'sum v'rav l'suru achre l'vavchem eitzem einov. So a person has to strengthen themselves, not look at bad sights of asay toiv, strengthen yourself and to do good, that it's not you're doing it out of habit, you're ready to go as far as you can. You're called the servant of God. This one time which you do more than usually. Through this, you have the idea that you put upon yourself a king. When you do all of this, then the name is complete and the throne is complete. The name is the level of God Himself. This is the Yudke, which is higher than Yishalshus V'nika Amad Iskasia. This is called the world of Iskasia. Hakim b'lei b'chach v'yidiyah, Maven b'lei b'vina. Okay, who b'chas Amad Iskalia Havav, He Hamshachas L'yos Hei Shu Amad Iskalia V'hinik Siv Shemai V'Saretz and Imali Neum Hashem Shema Shu Mali Shemai V'Saretz Hu Neum Hashem Shu b'chas Bar Hashem. So what fills heaven and earth is the word of God. V'zel Yidei Srus L'Tata As Ha'abaya Varta. And when we say the words of Torah, we sort of become like the Creator, because we're using those same words that God used in creation, and we fill the creation with energy. It's like you're, turning on the switch. So first you have this idea that you're controlling the heart, but eventually the heart is filled with this love. You don't have to control it, it wants it. So you have this idea that you're controlling the heart, but eventually the heart is filled with this love. You don't have to control it, it wants it. Genesis hapko v'surus zulu tatas surus leila shem yud kishiyidim smash mehel melagili. Na'am is going to shacham genesis bobke v'zol shem shalom. Ini akise shalom hu genesis kise malchuse same tasam melech melech. Chmash chas meishe melech in the kise chsiva yoshem Hashem melech leilam kenal. Genesis shiva kalpi ma'al hiba genesis shpala. Beirad medagel medag meisha yidei yeshivas ha'odem megashvis al derech mashal mashal acherev kenal kafu pnesidis mamshachas kili. Havai lebchenes achraim yidei shekoifa liba kenal v'kim kol mitzvah melech shem gashvis l'nikrim shem b'chenes achraim. Which because Megillah of Ksivim Panam Bachan okay, me Bafikain Hein Him Ramach Yivar and the Mark Kadma X Bechaveri Beachem Bechaveri and Meshche Mamshiche Kenal. Achine Zelu Matzah said the Kim Sheshpan Bach of Clipper. So just like there's the inner and outer side of Kedusha, there's also the inner and outer side of Klippa, the inner and outer side of good and inner and outer side of evil. Gam Kek Kedusha, we need Kosmach Zos Machram Kedusha, Behine Desh Gaim Amalek, Shu Bechinis Eid the Klippa. So we know Amalek is the first of the Goyim. That means that he is the worst of them. He is what's called the neck, the back of Klippa. When they would slaughter the birds for their sacrifice, they would do it from the back of the neck. What's the greatness of Jewish people? The stiff-necked people. And therefore Moses asked that you should forgive them because this comes from their stiff-neckedness from goodness. In other words, so every force has an equal ability for the good and the bad. The very fact that we have this toughness can be used, God forbid, for bad, but it could also be used for good, to go against anything that is negative and break one's own instinctive desires to follow God and to not allow anybody to stop you, and to be very, very strong in what is right and to do it. שבקליפה דהיינו שגם אם לבוא ויובן בעבד זבי שכך יעשה חולו לידי שאינו מכריח את ליבוי לחויפוי להתריס לאהבה ולאף גם זו שעושה ההפך לגמרי וזהו ויזענה בכל כל נכשל מאחריך די כלי בכנס אחריים דקדוש והנה זו היא רק בכנס חוץ בלי טעם ובלי דש שעושה ההפך מן הדס. So people, through the agency of Amalek, we literally lose our mind. People do things just to kind of spite God, which is obviously, God is here for the person. So it's like a child who's doing something to spite the parent, which is the dumbest thing that a person can do. This is what Amalek was. He saw all the miracles. It's like the Arabs today. They see the hand of God. You have to be an idiot. But the hatred is so great that it overcomes them. But like I said, that I think that even we see this in Germany, we see this with the Arabs, that because they have suffered humiliation, now they're not so arrogant. Because they're not so arrogant, they're not evil. So first Pharaoh said, I don't know God, right? He's the big shot. He enslaves the people of God. But then suddenly after he sees all these miracles, he becomes humbled and he sends the Jews out. In other words, when a person becomes humbled, suddenly the negativity, the evil of the arrogance dissipates, like we mentioned before. So also the Gentiles that are anti-Semites are only anti-Semites because they're so busy with their stupidity and their foolish arrogance that makes them hate. So also the lesson is for the Jew, and it's a very powerful thing because as we do this spiritually, it makes a difference physically. Number one, we have to follow God, even if it means you have to force yourself. Eventually, you're going to come to a deep love and appreciation for the goodness of what you're doing. Yes, in times of Golos where it says Achrev, after God. You don't have that internal, that great love which the soul above feels because your animal soul is strong. So it says you have to wipe out the memory of Amalek. So now, because it's so difficult, the person doesn't even have the capacity to reveal their inner soul that they have. The soul is so great, so holy, that it goes every day into heaven at night. It goes into heaven and cries to God. It says, please get me out of here. And so, in other words, the soul is just one. It's got this father and it's stuck in the body. So, but God can save the soul. And we ask God to save our souls, to give us that godly fire, that our passion should be in God and in good things. So when you do come to this love of God, and many of us have come to a great love of God, we've been through the world and we've seen that it's meaningless. So then don't forget to eradicate Amalek. Don't let yourself fall back into the stupidity, because the world doesn't get smarter. The world gets stupider. It gets crazier, as we see in Parakut. So stick with that great love that you have. Don't forget it. שהיא בכנס החיים וכל בעיני נקרא וחסוד אלו בכנס החיים כמו שחסד חלום ושלום לאחר יחד בגיים ובחיינו בדרך חסד חמצם דרך מהשם ונניח השם לקח לכל מכל לבך ובצד בארץ כמה שהוא בכנס פנימיוס.